Hey, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain, and welcome back to my completely trashed workshop. Now, it's been a very long time since you were last out here. Actually, it's been quite a while since I was last out here. Don't worry about that whirring sound, it's just my new kick-ass fan that I've got on in the background. You might be able to see it if I spin this around a bit. Maybe. Anyway, it's a big-ass fan. And it's blowing lots of nice cool air at me because even though it's middle of winter here, it's still warm and humid at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, we all live in the time of the pandemic, and in my state at least, we've been incredibly lucky, but we all need to now sign in with QR codes every time we go anywhere. Now, I'm at a course 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and people keep forgetting to sign in. They just don't see it. So I've been challenged to make something bright and colourful that they can't miss. But I'm not allowed to spend any money because they're not going to pay me anything. So looking through my piles and piles of junk, I have found scrap foam, would you believe? Actually, do you know any makers that don't have piles of scrap foam? Yeah. I have a little clay flower pot. Used to hold a mosquito repellent candle, so it's rubbish, no money spent on it. And I've got an old mushroom that got made long ago. So my thought is if I strip the stem off the mushroom, being that's only held on with hot glue, probably. Yes, probably only held on with hot glue. Wow. I did a really good job gluing that on. So I'm going to use this mushroom cap and I'm going to build a man that stands under the cap and put the QR code on a sign in front of him. So normally I'd use a piece of pool noodle for the body of a mushroom like this, but because I have this mountain of scrap foam that I really need to get rid of, I'm going to actually cut circles in it and glue them together to build up the form that I want, and then cover it with tissues and PVA glue, and hopefully it's going to work. So using my mighty cordless Ryobi glue gun, I've glued 4 layers of foam into the pot and sealed around the upper layer, so that should give me a nice surface as my dirt. I've then glued 16 layers of foam together. And as you can all notice, it's not exactly smooth or even, so I'm going to take it over the belt sander and give it a bit of a smooth down and possibly a little bit of a shape. So at this point, I have something that looks a bit like this. So once I smooth it down and paper mache it with the tissues, I need to put a face and arms on it, and the arms will be holding a square of this 3mm postcard that I've been dragging around since, what, 97 or 98 when I did a public display model. This is some of the last of it, and this is what will have the QR code on it, and it'll be holding it down here like this. And I have a big speech bubble coming up saying scan me. So let's smooth it down and see where we go from there. It's amazing what a minute on the belt sander will do. This is much smoother now. Now you'll see that I've glued it in, not in the center of the pot. That's because I don't want anything hanging outside of the pot. So I've put it back a bit so I can put some feet down here and the arms coming off it, and nothing will be outside the confines of the pot. So now to put the paper mache on, for which I'm just using very cheap tissues and some watered down PVA glue. And the only place I've got to be careful is not to put it onto the rim of the pot. So I'm going to paper mache this because it's boring as hell to watch. And once I've got a coat or two on and I've got it dry, I'll show you how I do the face. Okay, I've put on about 3 layers of tissues onto this. As you can see, it's starting to smooth out nicely. It's looking right. Now I've made a slight change. I've decided I'm going to put a really protruding nose on it. So I've cut the nose out of foam. I've scraped the paper mache away from the area. So I'll hot glue that onto there. And then I'm also going to hot glue 2 feet onto it and cover them with paper mache. Once I've done that, I'll then start building up some foam clay, well, paper clay. And the way you do that is you paint your tissue and fold it and paint it and fold and paint it and fold it till it's nice and soggy, and then you can actually form it into shapes. I'll probably show a bit of that once I get the frill on, which I'm going to use as this fringe, and also the nose and the feet covered. I have a mushroom, kinda. So to achieve the facial features besides the nose, all I did was fold my tissue and paint it with the PVA glue, then fold it again and paint it until it was a nice texture of clay, which it becomes fairly quickly. You can then ball it up and sculpt it. Now, just sticking things on like this gives them a little bit too harsh a feature. Also, if it's not, it's possible they'll fall off. So my next step is to get a very thin tissue, so the cheaper the better, single layer. I'm just going to put it in small pieces over the face and merge the whole thing onto the stalk. And once I've done that, I should be able to dry it off and look at the arms. Okay, my mushroom guy is complete. All I've done is I've added some foam arms and paper mache over them, and they will hold this QR code in the front. So now that he's dry, I think he needs a paint. So first step is to paint him completely with antique white, including the top of the dome since it's not staying metallic. So I'll slap some paint onto him and then come back to the next step. Hey, it's Wolf here again. I got distracted and then I finished off the mushroom without filming the other steps. Mainly because I started rushing because it's getting cold and dark outside. Joys of being midwinter and all. So anyway, the mushroom is finished. And it looks like this. So as you can see, he is holding the QR code in his hands. And sign pretty clearly says, "Scan me, QR check-in." So the mushroom was painted with the antique white. The cap was a cool red with white spots. And then a little bit of black for the mouth and the eyes. And I think he's come up alright. Just a few bits of plastic plant just to soften it up a little bit, and some brown flocking on the inside. Now this speech bubble is made out of some heavy card that I picked up, I'd say maybe 12 years ago, so it moved here with me. And it's been sitting out in my workshop ever since. So, total cost of this project to me was glue sticks and paint. Everything else was rubbish to be thrown out. Oh, sorry, and some tissues. But that's not bad, I think. Anyway, we have to have QR codes. They don't have to be boring. Now, if you like this video, on the screen should be 2 other videos showing mushrooms that I've built. Feel free to subscribe, or not. I'm not your father. And remember guys, stay in and build something.